All right. Shalom, family. It's your brother Kanaiba coming at you once again with this video titled Persecution May Be Closer Than We Think. The stage is being set as we speak. Okay. So, as we already know, in the last days, there's going to be a time of tribulation that the children of Israel is going to have to go through. Okay, a time that there's going to be heavy persecution that's going to come upon us. And of course, that time is known as the time of Jacob's trouble. Okay. And, as the days go by, it's clear that that time is really upon us. Okay, that time of great tribulation, that persecution. Okay. Now, I say the stage is being set because really, if you think about it, they're in, I guess what you call the tech world, they would call the beta stage. Okay, that's the stage that we're in right now. Everything is getting set up and prepped for that great tribulation and that persecution that you read about in the book of Revelation, which we'll get into a little later on. But if you just simply look at everything that's happening out there in the world, you'll see why I'm saying the stage is being set for us to be persecuted. Okay, because they're making other demographics seem like sympathetic figures to bring forth, to probably bring forth more stricter laws protecting them. Okay, which could bring forth more persecution for us. Okay, because these different demographics that they're trying to make out to be sympathetic figures are the demographics that we as Israelites typically speak against, that the Bible speaks against. Okay, which, if you think about it, could also bring forth the famine of the word. Okay, the outlawing of Bibles and things of that nature. Who knows? Okay, but we'll get into all that further into the video. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to start off with an article that I came across from End Time Headlines, and then we'll go from there. All right. So without further ado, let's get into the article. Okay. All right. So opening up, this is the article from End Time Headlines that we're going to go over. Okay. And the title of the article reads, it says, Christians better get prepared for persecution. Now, the article is a bit misleading. Okay. Because ultimately, it's really not the Christians that's going to be persecuted. Okay. Well, not the Christians that you think about colloquially. Okay. The true Christians, which are the Israelites that follow the Mashiach, we're the ones that's going to be persecuted. Okay. It's the Israelites. Okay. If you think about it, these quote unquote Christians, they're not the threat to this society. Okay, we are. Okay, but we'll get further into it when we actually read the article. Okay, so now let's actually get into it. All right. Okay, so going to the article, and this is how it starts. And it reads, it says, not a day passes without reports of persecution against Christians, quote unquote, happening on a global scale. In my country, Nigeria, Christians are killed on a daily basis. It says the government is actively aiding and abetting the persecutors. It says, sadly, this is a global phenomenon, and it looks like there is nothing anyone can do to avert it. And you better believe that this is coming to America. Okay, this is not just a thing that's going to be happening in Nigeria. Okay, this is definitely coming to America according to prophecy. And guess what? We are the target. Okay, the Hebrew Israelites. that follow after Yahushua. Okay, we are the ones that's going to be the target. Okay, but let's continue. It says, Jesus, of course, which is Yahushua, warned us that persecution is inevitable. It says, but we have decided to ignore this warning at our own perils. Now, again, we don't ignore this as Israelites. Okay, we expect it and we welcome it. Okay, but the quote unquote Christians, the colloquial Christians, they're the ones that want to look past this said persecution that's coming. Okay, just look at the doctrine that they teach concerning the rapture. Okay, they tell you that the believers, they're just gonna disappear out of nowhere while the rest of the world is left to go through to actually go through that quote unquote persecution. But that's not the narrative of the Bible. Okay, it's actually everybody, including the righteous, that's going to have to endure this said persecution. Okay, but like the article is saying, they pretty much want to escape from it, and that's not doctrine. Okay, this how you know that these colloquial Christians, they really don't know what's going on. Okay, they don't understand the Bible. Okay, but anyway, let's continue. It says, remember what I told you. A servant, let's scroll up a bit, and the article continues. It says, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you also. Okay, and that's what Yahushua taught us. Okay, that's why, again, going to my last point, these quote unquote Christians, they really don't know what's going on. Okay, according to that rapture doctrine that they teach, okay, which is erroneous. Okay, they teach again that, the believers, they're going to be, I guess caught up, or they're going to disappear, when people least expect it, and everybody that's left that, did not believe or didn't live the type of life that they're supposed to lead as Christians, everybody else that's left here is going to have to go through that great tribulation. Okay, but again, like I said earlier, that's not the narrative of the Bible. Okay, that's not what the Bible teaches. Everybody, the non-believers and the believers, are going to have to go through some type of tribulation in some way, shape, or form when it comes before Yahushua returns. Okay, even some of the believers are even going to have to face death. Okay, in fact, to prove that point and to prove that rapture doctrine is off. Okay, let's actually go to the scriptures and let's prove that real quick. Then we'll get back to the article. Okay, so this is the book of Revelation, chapter 7 and verse 14. Now, just to brief you on what's going on here, the prophet John the Revelator, he had just gotten a vision of first 144,000. Then right after that, he got a vision of that great multitude, okay, which ultimately is the 1/3 of Israel that was saved. Okay, so he asked, he pretty much asked the angel, who are these people? Of course, who are arrayed in white robes. Okay, and so he's about to get an answer in this verse. And here's the point. And it reads, it says, and I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said to me, These are they which came out of great tribulation. Allow me to repeat that part. These are they which came out of great tribulation. Let's pause. Okay. Now, of course, these are that are deemed the righteous, and it says that they came out of great tribulation. Okay, so this is not something that's avoidable. But like the article says, these colloquial Christians, they want to avoid this persecution, to their own peril, roughly paraphrasing what the article said. Okay, but again, that's not doctrine. Okay, even when you look at their so-called rapture doctrine, like I was saying, it does not line up with this, with what the scriptures actually say, because the scriptures is telling us right here that even the righteous is going to come out of great tribulation. Okay, let's finish the verse out. It says, and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. And of course, the Lamb is the Mashiach, Yahawashi, whom the world knows as Jesus Christ. Okay. But yeah, we just went here to make that point, just to make to add to the point that the article was saying. The colloquial Christians, they want to avoid this persecution, but you can't avoid it. Okay, it's coming upon the earth. All right. So with that, let's get back to the article. All right. So getting back to the article, it's the second paragraph. And it reads, it says, if they obeyed my teaching, they will obey yours also. It says John 15:20. It says, many of us do not want to embrace the reality of the Christian faith. Okay, you really could just take that word Christian out and just say the reality of the faith. Okay, that's really what it should say. Okay. But anyway, it says many have decided to pick Jesus or Yahawashi's words of blessings, miracles, signs, and wonders and throw away his hard sayings. Well, now that part, that's Christianity in a nutshell. Okay, it really is. Okay. Just think about the last time you actually went to a so-called Christian church, be it, Baptist, Catholic, etc. Okay. I remember the last time I was there. Okay. All I heard was, these these words of so-called blessings, these smooth words that, get to your emotions to try to make you feel good and all this other stuff. But, they never touch on the hard sayings of Yahawashi. Okay, because they want to avoid that. Okay, these colloquial Christians, they want to fit in with the world, and that's very clear. But if you're a true follower of Yahawashi, you're not going to fit in with the world. Okay, the world is going to be against you, like the scriptures say. Okay, so moving forward with the article. It continues and it reads, it says, I strongly believe that persecution is an integral part of Christianity. Now, again, this quote unquote Christianity that you hear about today, it has nothing to do with the Bible. Okay, Christianity, as we speak, it's just an offshoot of the mystery school systems of ancient Babylon and ancient Kemet. Okay, that's all it is. It has nothing to do with the Bible. Okay, so you can take that term Christianity with a grain of salt. Okay, but anyway, let me start from the beginning here. It says, I strongly believe that persecution is an integral part of Christianity, and there is nothing anyone can do to remove it. Now, that persecution is coming to us as believing Hebrew Israelites. That would have been the correct way to say that. Okay. And there is nothing you can do to remove that persecution. Okay. And that persecution is integral, like the article says, because prophecy has to be fulfilled. And not only that, again, the same way that gold is refined through fire. Okay, us as believers, we have to be refined the same way that gold is refined through the fire of adversity, of persecution, tribulation. Okay, Now, the rest of the 2/3, okay, Lord willing, we're not a part of the 2/3, okay, but the 2/3, they're going to have to be refined by that literal fire that's going to come by way of ICBM missiles, okay. But anyway, let's continue. It says, it is obvious that many preachers and Christians who want to escape persecution have developed another gospel and faith that promotes bodily comforts and discard the doctrine of Christian suffering completely. It says this is not the Christianity that the Mashiach handed over to his disciples. Well, Yahushua did not hand us Christianity at all. Okay, he didn't. Everything he taught was, of course, according to the Holy Manuscript. It had nothing to do with what we call Christianity today. Okay, but to the point of this article, again, Yahushua did teach us that, we'll go through that persecution because the servant is not greater than his Lord. Okay, and if he went through it and we want to be joint heirs with him, you're going to have to suffer in some way, shape, or form. Okay, and that ultimate suffering is right at the door. Okay, like I said, it's in the beta stage right now. They're prepping for it. They're setting the stage as we speak. Okay, so moving forward to the next paragraph, and it reads, it says, lack of preparedness for persecution on the side of Christians is responsible for our inability to, let's scroll up a bit more, reach the world with the gospel and the love of Mashiach. It says we are now selecting where to go and where not to go, even when the command of Mashiach is that we go into all the world and spread the good news about his kingdom. Well, I got news for you. Okay, this quote unquote doctrine, the doctrine of Christianity, it has been preached in all the world. Okay, that's how you know that it's not the gospel. Okay, because Yahushua was really clear. He was crystal clear on what he said about the gospel. He told us this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, and then the end shall come. Okay, the doctrine of Christianity has been spread throughout all the world, and the end has not come yet. Why is that? Because the doctrine that Christianity teaches is not the gospel. Okay, it's definitely not the gospel. It's actually the complete opposite of the gospel. Okay, the gospel is for a very specific people. Okay, it's for the children of Israel, which are the children of the kingdom, as the Bible says. Okay, but have Christianity tell you, they'll tell you that the gospel is for every single person on the planet, and guess what? That's not the doctrine. That's not the narrative of the Bible. Okay, you want to really know what the gospel is? It's really first taught in Isaiah the 61st chapter. Okay, even Yahushua quoted it in Luke the 4th chapter. Okay, you can read it on your own time, but the gospel, which is the good news or glad tidings, when you read Isaiah chapter 61, it's good news for some and it's bad news for others. Okay, you clearly see that in Isaiah 61, because there's a certain people that's going to be in rulership. Then there's other people that are going to be working in the field as slaves. That's the gospel. Okay. But anyway, let's continue with the article. It says the gospel of comfort and prosperity that are preached in our churches today does not allow us to embrace risk and face persecution. This is unacceptable, and that I agree with. Okay. Next paragraph. It says we must, as a matter of necessity, be prepared to be persecuted because Hamashiach did not in any way tell us to avoid it. Neither did he promise to, scrolling up, deliver us when we are being persecuted. It says, do not be afraid of what you are about to suffer. I tell you, the devil will put some of you in prison to test you, and you will suffer persecution for 10 days. Now that number 10 is it's a spiritual number, which also can represent completion. Okay. For some people, it could be more than 10 days. It could be less than 10 days. It could be 10 days exactly. But, some people are going to be in prison, put in FEMA camps. Okay. And, and put to that ultimate test. Okay. Some of you are, or some of us are even going to be faced with the guillotine. Okay. But that's what this verse is going into. Okay, let's go look at the next paragraph here. It says, be faithful even to the point of death, and I will give you life as your victor's crown, which is Revelation 2:10. Now, that wasn't the KJV, but the point is still made. Okay, as we see, these was Yahweh words. Okay, these words were in red when you actually read it in the Bible. So even out of Yahweh's own mouth, he's telling us that, persecution is inevitable. It's going to happen. And he's telling us to be faithful in that time and endure it. And then you'll get the crown of life, that crown that we all so yearn for. You have to be faithful even unto death. Okay, because a lot of us is going to be faced with that. Not every single person, but there is some form of persecution that's ahead for every single Israelite. Okay, so let's continue with the paragraph, and it reads, it says, there was no escape promised by Hamashiach in this admonishing, because persecution is packaged by God to separate the chosen from the called. Okay, and that's a quote that Yahweh made that he really got from the Apocrypha. Okay, many are called, but few are chosen. Okay, I believe that was also said in 2nd Esdras, if my memory serves me correctly. Okay, but it continues. It says, the biblical disciples who handed down, let's scroll up a bit, and it says they handed down Christianity to us, understood and embraced the doctrine and Christian persecution. But when you read the scriptures, that when Yahweh was still with the disciples, that's something that he had to get embedded in them, because they had to understand that concept as well. Okay. There were times when they would talk about the kingdom and, who would be the greatest in the kingdom, who would sit right next to him on his right and his left hand, and he, there were times where he had to tell them, can you drink of this cup that I drink of? Then, that sometimes they would say, yes, we can. And he would say, you shall surely drink of this cup, because he was trying to embed in them that, this is not going to come for free. Everything that I'm going through, you're going to go through it, even death. Okay. So it's not like it's something that the disciples understood right off the bat. Yahweh had to really drill it in them. Okay. And we have to understand this concept as well. Okay. But anyway, continuing with the article, the next paragraph, and it reads, it says, when they were persecuted, they never prayed that God should deliver them. Rather, they prayed for the boldness to continue to preach the gospel. This Acts chapter 4:29. It says, many governments around the world are threatening to put us in prison if we preach Hamashiach. Okay, and again, this is coming to America. Don't get that twisted for 1 minute. It's coming to America. Okay. It says, should we quit or should we seek God to give us the boldness to go to all countries, cities, towns, villages with the gospel, regardless of the consequences? So they're asking that question. Should we ask God? should we quit or ask God to give us that boldness? Okay, regardless of the consequences. Okay, but again, we're commanded to spread this gospel regardless to the consequences. Okay, and I'm talking about the true gospel, not the doctrine that Christianity teaches. Okay, but that was pretty much the end of the article. Okay, and just pretty much talking about how, as believers, we are supposed to go through that persecution. Okay, and it's not something that we can avoid, and it's right around the corner. Like I said earlier, it's in the beta stage. Okay, which leads us to the second part of the title of my video. Okay, this thing is being set up right now as we speak, and you can see it by what's going on in the world. Going back to how I started this video out, they're using certain demographics to be used as sympathetic figures. Okay, and this is just what my belief is. They're gonna ramp up, protecting these different demographics and making more stricter laws to where you can't speak against them. Okay, and if you do, they're gonna be very harsh consequences. Okay, they could even use this as a catalyst to usher in the famine of the word that you read about in Amos, I believe the 8th chapter. Okay, so let's actually get into that. Okay, these sympathetic figures, and this is just a couple of them. Okay, there's more than this, but I'm going to use 2 of them because these are the ones that you're seeing most right now in the media that they're trying to really get sympathy for. Okay, so let's get to that. So as most of us already know, last week there was a school shooting that happened. I believe it was March the 27th. Okay, at the Covenant Presbyterian Church. It's called the Covenant School. Okay, now anybody can clearly see, and this could really be a video all on its own, but anybody could see that this particular incident, it was definitely esoteric on the left hand side. Okay, this whole thing was scripted. Okay, now when you just simply look at the numbers, first off, look at the street that it happened on. Okay, the school street address. Okay, it happened on the 33rd Street. Look right there, you see it, 33. What do I say on most of my videos? Okay, if you follow my videos for a certain amount of time, you should know that the number 33, it represents enlightenment, and it also represents sacrifice. Okay, that's why this had to happen at this particular school. Okay, and even when you look at the numbers, look at all the victims that were murdered. The 3 children, and it was 3 children and 3 adults, which again, that's 6 people that were actually murdered. Then, of course, the shooter was killed by the police. But the point being, when you look at the murder victims, the 3 children, their ages, they were 9 years old. Okay, now when you look at the number 9, the number 9 is a number that represents the so-called divine feminine, and it also represents the end of a cycle. Okay, the end of a cycle, or the end of an era. Okay, going towards the beginning of a new. Okay, now why is that? Of course, the number 9, when you look at it, it's the last number when you're dealing with the single digits. Then when you go to the double digits, the number 99 is the last number of the double digits, and so forth and so on. So, of course, the number 9 represents the end of a cycle. That's why all the children that were murdered, they were 9 years old. That wasn't by happenstance. That there's an underlining message here. Okay, that there's an end of a cycle that's coming in the beginning of a new. That's why they're trying to have the transgenders, and not just transgenders, but the LGBTQ community in general, to be sympathetic figures. Okay, because they're pushing this more heavily. This is that new cycle or that new era that we're going into. The promotion of the divine feminine and the divine transgender, or the divine child. Okay, which is the rebus. Okay, not to get too far off topic, but that's what this is going into. This whole situation was esoteric. Okay, but to get back to my point, okay, they're trying to make the LGBTQ community out to be sympathetic figures. Okay, and you know this is scripted. Another point, when you go back to, I believe it was last year, it was another school shooting, if you remember, that happened in Texas, correct? And I believe that individual, I can't remember if they identified as transgender, but at the very least, I believe they identified as homosexual. When you go back to that story. Okay, so again, that's not a coincidence. Okay, this thing is scripted. There's a script that they're going by right now. Okay, and they're trying to make them out to be sympathetic figures. Okay, and they're going to ramp up on the laws to protect them. Okay, they're even going to ramp up on the gun laws because of this. You have to be blind not to see what's going on here. Okay, so let's get a little more context dealing with this. Okay, let's look at the a news report on this. Okay. Oh, and before I forget, before we even get to that news report, to actually show you that this was esoteric on the left hand side. Okay, this school shooting, of course, it happened on it was March the 27th. Okay, so this school shooting, and the shooter identified as transgender. This school shooting happened just days before what's known as the International Transgender Day, which, as we see here, is on March the 31st. Okay, so you mean to tell me that was a coincidence? No, this was also a sacrifice. Okay, but anyway, let's get to the news interview. Okay.
Leading the charge was President Joe Biden, who released this frankly absurd statement where he said, "Transgender Americans shape our nation's soul." Proudly serving in the military, curing deadly diseases, holding elected office, running thriving businesses, fighting for justice, raising families, and much more. And White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre was also eager to express support and solidarity, not with the Christian community that had just been attacked, but with the trans community.
It is shameful, it is disturbing, and our hearts go out to the trans community as they are under attack right now.
So let me get this straight. This individual that identifies as transgender goes into an elementary school and murders 6 individuals, 3 of which are children. And you mean to tell me that this individual, along with the other people that it identifies with, they are the victims? When this individual is the one that actually committed a mass murdering, and the murderer itself is now the victim. Are you kidding me? But this just goes to show you what I was saying. They are going to make these people, transgenders, and the LGBTQ community in general, they are trying to make them out to be sympathetic figures, and they're going to ramp up on the laws protecting them. Okay, let's get back to the video.
And celebrities were no better. Take superstar and freak show Madonna, who posted a message of support for the trans community in Nashville and said she'll be donating some of the proceeds from her concert there to the trans community. Not the school that was just attacked in Nashville. No, not that one.
Again, do not look up to these celebrities, okay? They have a job to do, okay? They have a job to push forward to what they call the great work. Okay, that's what they're pushing towards. And, you know, they have to push towards this agenda. Okay, they have to support this. Okay, Miss Madonna, she has no sympathy for the individuals that were murdered that day. Her focus is the so-called transgender. Okay, again, making them out to be sympathetic figures. Okay, that's why I said the groundwork for this is being set as we speak. Okay, so from here, let's go to the last video that I have, and we're going to look at another demographic that they're really pushing to be sympathetic figures here in 2023. And it kind of goes into my prediction for this year that I made at the end of last year. Okay. I told you the number 23 is dealing with DNA. And you're going to hear more and more discussions about who the real Jews are. Okay. Even, what was it, a week or so ago, Alazar of the Sicarii, you know, he had this debate with this fake Jew, and, you know, Alazar mopped the floor with him. Okay, so-called Dr. Brown. Okay, but again, that's why this is still a hot topic. It started at the end of last year, and it's still being talked about today. It's still a hot topic. So what they're going to do is they're going to make these 1948ers out to be sympathetic figures, to try to trick people into thinking that they're the real ones. Okay? So to prove that point, I want to get into this quote unquote commercial that I stumbled across a day or two ago. Okay? And you'll see what I'm talking about. Again, they're trying to make them out to be sympathetic figures, and they're going to ramp up on the laws protecting them. Okay? So let's get to the commercial. All right? Okay, so as we saw in that commercial, you see they're trying to make the 1948ers out to be these sympathetic figures. Okay, they're trying to quote unquote protect them from hate. Okay, talking about they make up what did it say, less than 2.4% of the population or something like that. You know, when the prophecy clearly tells us that the children of Israel will be as the sand of the sea and the stars of heaven, which could not be measured nor numbered. Okay, I mean, that alone should let you know that, you know, they're counterfeits. Okay, but yeah, you know, those are just two demographics. You know, the quote unquote transgenders or the LGBTQ community, along with the 1948ers. Okay, you all know what I mean by that. And, you know, just to name a couple, you know, they're making them out to be these sympathetic figures to, you know, and they'll probably ramp up the laws, you know, for them, and anybody that speaks out against them, you could face, persecution. Okay, that's why I said it's really clear the agenda that they're setting up. Okay, you just got to be spiritual to see it. Okay, so this is definitely something to look out for in these last days. Okay, and they may use other demographics to push this agenda that's going to lead towards this great persecution. Okay, but those days are definitely upon us. Okay, so with that's the end of this video. And again, the title of this video is Persecution May Be Closer Than We Think. The stage is being set as we speak. Okay, so with that, and as always, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High Yahweh, which is the name of the Heavenly Father. And I do so by Hashem, which means in the name of Yahweh Shai, which is the name of the only begotten Son of the Heavenly Father, whom the world knows as Jesus Christ. And I want to thank all you brothers and sisters for tuning in. I hope this video was informative and edifying. And until next time, Shalom, family.